Hello and welcome to the All Blacks Edition EP8. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. And joining me this evening, I have the usual team. They're not really guests anymore. They're really kind of more fixtures of the of the whole channel. So please do say hello to Ashwin and Herman. And yes, sorry, I got your labels the wrong way around. People are watching. I think you've got to figure it out who's who. But good evening, sirs.
Good evening. I am a light chandelier.
Good afternoon to everyone, and I can report that having a little bit of a hangover today. I have a Senegalese friend, and we went to watch a World Cup game, and he was very happy after that game and insisted the night was on him. And who am I to turn him down?
Free beer. You don't turn down free beer.
Lots of free beer.
I was to say, if it was beer, you're getting lucky. It was probably more a bottle of Johnny Walker in the middle of the table, or something along those sort of lines.
Yep. It was exactly what it was. It was the bottle came out.
Please tell me it wasn't Red Label.
No, he was kind enough to order Absolute vodka because I'm Swedish, so he gave me Swedish vodka. So top bloke.
I remember the days in Singapore when you would order yourself a bottle of whatever, and all the mixers would come free, basically. And places would let you write your name on your bottle, and you could go back into the bar if you didn't happen to finish it that night. But it was very rare you didn't finish your bottle.
Actually, we did the effort to write on the bottle and thinking we're not going to finish this, but guess what?
As I say, very rare. Good evening, Red Moon Surface. Good evening, Christian. And Ashwin, you're in the chat as well. Nice to see you all joining us. So the big news this week really has been Julian Savea signing for Toulon. He is leaving New Zealand. I don't think it came as a big shock to us, just more news than shock. Because Julian, let's be honest, hasn't been in the All Blacks' thoughts for about 12 months now, since Rico has taken his place, and we all kind of knew he would not be coming back into the side. So I don't think any big loss from that sort of things. But before we get any further, there has been some clickbait reporting. I don't know if you've seen this, saying he hasn't fulfilled his John Olomu kind of potential, which I think is absolutely disgraceful. He's been a great player for the All Blacks. No?
Julian?
Yeah, Julian.
Yes. Julian has been a great player for the All Blacks. No doubt about that. So is Jonah. Yeah, both have been great players for the All Blacks.
But to suggest that Julian hasn't fulfilled his potential, I think was absolutely is a disgrace. That he's got over 50 odd caps. Let me actually, I should bring it up, shouldn't I? As to how many. But whilst I bring up his stats, give me your favourite memories of him as a Hurricane and an All Black, Ashwin.
I'll be honest, I can't remember any, so many games for the Hurricanes. But, it's hard really to go past, and you've got it in our notes as well. So it's like, oh damn it, he's got it in the notes. But the 2015 game against France at the Rugby World Cup, it's hard to go back. Now, that's in your head. It's like Lomu, since people are comparing him to Lomu, it's like the Lomu moment against England in 95. It's like that's his Lomu moment against France, and I think that will be the visions that people will remember of him in that game, just like they do with Lomu in that England game against Mike Catt and Rory Underwood. Just throwing it in there.
I thought, was it Rory Underwood or Tony Underwood that got anyway? I can't remember now.
Yeah, he was under at least.
He definitely was Underwood.
But no,
I even can say under the wood.
Back to Julian. Look, I mean, great. Yeah, that will be definitely the one that stands out by a long way.
It will.
Yeah, I have to. It's hard to pick any other game than that one. I mean, it was what we call a 10 performance. That was a perfect performance by Julian, and to do it on that stage in that kind of game, you have to take your hat off for that. And anyone saying he didn't fulfill his potential, I mean, you can't be more off the mark. If you say it. He definitely fulfilled it. He could have done it for a little bit longer time, maybe, but he had he performed at peak level pretty much during that full season, 2015. He was great this season.
And if you look at that match, against France, it was only last week I think referring is that it was that scoreline was a bit misleading. France were in that game or pressuring All Blacks quite a bit before the All Blacks actually sort of ran away with it at the end, sort of thing. So Julian's performance in that game was quite critical.
Yeah,
absolutely, and some wonderful stats here. Julian, with the Hurricanes, 116 appearances, 225 points. With the All Blacks, 54 appearances, so just under half, or about half, 230 points. So one more try for the All Blacks than he scored for the Hurricanes. It shows that, there are certain players who turn up and when they are big stage players, and Julian was definitely one of those. Would turn up to camp the Hurricanes having perhaps one of those players that really struggled with not having a pre-season. The All Blacks, because the All Blacks turn up about a week before the season. One of those players who, if he wasn't actually in camp, tended to enjoy himself a bit too much, maybe, and get himself a little bit unfit. But when in camp, was definitely must have trained hard, must have worked very hard to got to levels he was at. But yeah, someone I think who needed to be in camp and was one of those guys who perhaps could have done with a pre-season rather than being on public show for the first sort of month of the season, I think.
Yeah, but I think isn't this it's almost like a small dream scenario for all partners in this deal, because he was on a very big salary for New Zealand standards. He had like 800,000 New Zealand dollars a month, and and now we don't have to worry about that anymore. And I actually thought that was going to be a problem for him to get picked up by a European club, because his form hasn't been flash lately. So if anyone was really ready to pay the big bucks, but look who's coming in and save us. Toulon, of course, with the big money to the rescue.
Well, interesting enough, would they have to? I mean, like I saw some comments around the fact that they'd actually have to have paid the NZRFU a bit of coin as well to because it's still over a year left on.
Yeah,
like a transfer fee. Yeah.
I think New Zealand Rugby has been very keen to. Don't worry about that. I think they said to
him. You'll be right.
I'm pretty sure.
New Zealand Rugby will be happy to release those funds, because, as we say, he was one of the senior All Blacks, came out of the 2015 Rugby World Cup as the best winger in the world, definitely the best left winger in the world. So was on quite rightly was on a very good contract, so we'll be happy to have released those funds, especially now that Rico has come in and taken his place. But this is especially more of a looking back and celebrating Julian rather than about this. And so I want to go back. So I deliberately went and watched some highlights last night to remind myself of some of Julian's moments. The very first test he played in against Ireland and scored a hat-trick on debut, which clearly gave us a good sign as to what was going to come. As I say, 54 appearances for 54 caps for 46 test tries. It was very good. Then and also another clip that I saw, which I loved when he was in a Hurricanes jersey, was someone passing the ball out and the opposition passing it, him basically being at the same place as the receiver, receiving the ball instead of it might have been maybe half a metre in front of the player than it perhaps should have been, but Julian catching it and then bussing the other player over and bouncing off and going around. Because Julian wasn't just about running through players, he enjoyed tackling as well.
Yep. No, he had a pretty good defense. That has to be noted too. So well played, Paul, for reminding us.
and he improved his play under the high ball as well. Not the fastest to turn around and chase back sometimes, but definitely worked on his work rate over the years.
Yeah, but I guess that's a problem when you're a bus. You have if you're going to turn around, you need a lot of space and a lot of time.
I think the interesting thing with that was that obviously it was more of an issue earlier in his career than later, when he obviously got a bit of nous about you got the sense this is like and it's all about learning the game, isn't it? This is like you don't want to push too far forward on defence, or otherwise you're going to get kicked over the top and you got to turn, and that's difficult. So he sort of started to read play much better, and so he put himself in a position where he didn't get caught out so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one of those players who came on the scene and has improved his works on his game and improved it very well. So, got to say.
One thing, Paul. You're the stats guy. I mean, this means the All Black try-scoring record is safe for quite some time now.
Oh, I'm not sure what that is, actually. I mean, it's quick. I'll bring that up.
He was very close. Is it Christian Cullen who still has a record for most tries in an All Black jersey?
No, I know that Dougie had passed Christian, but I think Dougie had been passed as well, I thought, but I could be wrong.
So Julian looked like... Yeah, sorry, Paul.
So Dougie tops the list on 49.
Okay.
Christian Cullen, Joe Rocococo, and Julian Savea all sit in second on 46.
So we should we start worry when Rico approaches 52? That's when it seems like the All Black players. So there's some divine intervention coming in there. No one's going to get a half century for the All Blacks. That's just a rule.
Just a few other people on here. Jeff Wilson at number 5 with 44. John Olomu with 37 tries. So more.
It's interesting. You go back to someone like Jeff Wilson, and I know we're supposed to be talking about Julian, but it just starts with J as well. You look at someone like Jeff Wilson, and he came along at an era when it just obviously converted over the professional rugby. They're playing a lot more, even for when Jeff Wilson was playing, we sort of thought, oh, they're playing a lot of rugby. Obviously, they play even more rugby now. You can't help but feel someone like Jeffrey Wilson would have really, if he'd played the game, the amount of games that they played today, he would have smashed that record.
Really? Yeah, but also, I mean, if you go, since we are on the J theme here, go back to John Olomu.
Sorry, no, we're not moving on yet, because we've got
no, the J theme.
I know the J theme, but we haven't finished with Jeff yet.
All right.
Because Doug Howlett did it in 62 matches.
Yep.
Christian Cullen 58 caps. Joe Rocococo 68. Julian Savea 54 caps. Jeff Wilson 60 caps.
He
played 60 tests. Started them all.
Yep.
And scored 44 tries. So he actually started more tests than everyone apart from Joe Rocococo and Doug Howlett, who are above him, and they only played two. Okay. They only played 2 and 8 more games than him.
Yeah, so I want to go back to the only one I think we can be certain who would have smashed that record would have been John Olomu if he hadn't had his health issues.
Yeah.
So John Olomu, as we say, sat in 6th place with 37 tries. How many games?
Sorry.
How many test caps do you think?
Who? I didn't. I had a moment. I had a moment, but I didn't hear a word.
How many test caps do you think Jonah got?
Oh, he only can. Did he get over 50? I don't think so.
Don't think so.
No, because he only really played between 95 and 99. I remember.
63 caps, 54 starting.
63? 54 starting.
Wow.
So he played here. So everyone above him played less matches, except for Joe Rocococo.
I'm dropping the mic and just walking out because this is getting everything.
Yeah, no. But I'm standing by my point. But he played a large part of those tests with having health issues.
No, I agree with that one. I think what we're looking at, I mean, Jeff Wilson, Jonah were basically playing at the same time, and I think what you see, if you look at the people above them, they're all players who played after them when the All Blacks changed their style of play and they score a lot more tries nowadays than they used to. The way they play means that that scoring ratio has gone up, so that and hence why you've got players like Joe Rokokoko, Julian, who have played the same number or similar number of games to Jonah, but scoring a lot more, scoring about 10 more tries, because the way that the All Blacks play has changed, which allows them to, which puts them gives them more opportunities to score.
That'd be an interesting thing for future All Blacks editions, wouldn't it? It's just like the scoring rate, sort of the percentage or rate tries per game through the decades for the All Blacks, or eras, and to see how they've actually started.
I've got players' tries per matches here. So Jonah was 5.8, whereas Julian Savea is at 8.5. Julian's the highest tries per match in the top 10 try scorers.
Tries per match?
Sorry, tries per match, yes.
How does that work?
Points per match.
Like points per match. Okay, yep, sweet. Yep.
8.5 tries per game. That would be impressive. That would be
0.85. 0.85.
0.85. Sorry. There was points. Right. Okay.
So, since I've got the table in front of me, we've let's do quiz times though.
Trying to humiliate all night.
Who do you think comes in at 7? The first non-winger on the try scoring charts
for the All Blacks.
For the All Blacks.
Dan Carter.
No.
Try scoring? Really? No,
that's a poor guess. I'm totally lost here.
The question again. Can I have the question again? Sorry.
Non-winger. Should be a fullback,
non-winger.
Maybe,
Yeah. He comes in at 7th in the all-time try scoring charts.
Fullback, I guess it should be. Is it a fullback, Paul?
It's not a fullback. It's a centre.
It's not. It's a centre.
All the players now are going to be retired, but we do have a couple of Blues head coaches in here. So Tana Manga comes in at 7 with 36 tries, followed by John Kerwin at 8 with 35 tries. Then we get to the guys who played a lot of games. Miles Muliaina at fullback, 34 tries, obviously 100 games. And at number 10, Mar Nonu, 31 tries with 103 caps. So there we go. So that's your top 10 try scorers there. Math makes a point that Jeff Wilson scored loads of tries against rugby giants, Japan, though. Maybe he got lucky in one of the Rugby World Cups and got himself a hat.
I can put some more like cold eyes on Jeff Wilson's stats, because since he played during the Jonah era, I'm pretty sure the fullback in the other team was looking at the Jonas wing a lot more.
There was 3 players on Jonah, so there was somebody that marked. So,
damn, we're hard on Jeff Wilson here, eh? Like legendary All Black scoreman. Not good enough.
Well, I mean, not only legendary All Black, but also
cricketer. Yeah, the last.
And now a sexist TV pundit.
Ooh!
Yeah, if you can't guess, not a fan of Goldie as a TV presenter.
Interesting. So he's got the Russian mafia knocking on his door in Rotorua. And now he's going to have Jeff's wife knocking his door down as well.
Well, I think there goes my chance of getting a Sky contract.
Don't know. Melody might agree with you.
Well, maybe she would. I feel sorry for her having to be on that show, to be honest with you. Hope she's getting megabucks to have to sit next to those two guys. Anyway. Move. As you said, talking about last night and Rotorua. What will Steve Hansen do after the Rugby World Cup? This is the one we could have touched on last night. We said, hey, let's hold off. We're already overrunning by about an hour or so. Let's shoot this one over to the next day. So last night we established that Steve Hansen is 59. so will just be won't even be drawing his pension come the time of the next Rugby World Cup. So, Herman, what do you think he's going to do after the World Cup?
Bar he loses, depending a little bit on All Blacks' performance too, but he even got enough credit in the bank to, even if All Blacks get like a shot loss in the quarters or the semis, I think if he really wants to stay and still like the overall performance is good enough, I think he could still stay on. So it's all about him. But I personally would like him to stay because he seems to have grafted himself a position pretty much similar to like what Sir Alex Ferguson had at Manchester United, where he just like steer the ship from the very top and just appoint very, very good helpers around him who actually run the show on a daily basis. And this also gives him his like extra leverage, I think, in his one-on-one meetings with the players. I think he's because he is a power man. He's like a real power man in the All Blacks setup. And when they sit down with him and have a word, like serious word between four eyes, I'm pretty sure they listen to him very carefully. They know he's the man, and he seems to be a pretty good man coach also, I think. He has like level-headed, speaks very simple and clear, has no problem whatsoever to make himself understood to anyone really, So I think, and look at the other options who should replace him, is going to be almost impossible for anyone to fill those shoes, because this kind of role he has now, being like this real, like he's more, I would call him, he's the manager of the All Blacks. He's not the head coach of All Blacks. He's the manager of the All Blacks. And to fill, there's no real preparation unless you've been like director of rugby, but I still feel the position he has in the All Blacks is very, very unique. And it's going to be very hard to find someone else to fill those shoes. I want him to stay. I actually believe he will stay, because he's been very reluctant to say anything like, hey, I'm going. He said a little bit like, I'm going, but as soon as it comes to like more serious crunch time, he's backing those statements. And as we mentioned yesterday too, sorry for speaking a long time, but what else is for him to do? I mean, anyone have any thoughts of that?
Well, let's just rewind a second there and unpack some of what you've just said. So something that you've not had the opportunity to do, and unfortunately, but I got to go and sit in a closed All Blacks training session prior to the Third Lions test last year, and got to sit next to Alex Corbisiero as we watched the All Blacks go through their paces, and got told off by the media, by the press officer for videoing the practice as it was. I say it was a closed session, so you weren't supposed to do that. I had to delete those off my phone. So, but one of the things that stood out in that was that Steve Hansen wasn't just stood on the sidelines just watching the other guys go through the paces. He was in the middle of the pitch deciding what was happening next in training, telling everyone what to do, calling the next play, calling the next drill, and he was very involved with the training session. So he's not this hands-off director of rugby who just deals with contracts and making sure that we've got all the right, keeping within salary caps like you see to a certain degree in the Aviva Premiership. He was a very hands-on head coach during that session.
But how close was it if you were there, Paul?
Sorry?
How close was that session if you were there, Paul?
With a reduced on.
I mean, if you let an English guy into the session, I don't think it's like, now let's... Two English guys. Alex Persevere is also... I guess there were a couple of other English guys there too. You were not the only one watching, are you?
No, well, I was there with the Kiwi because I was his plus one, so I wasn't actually invited. Yeah. So a friend of... not a friend, someone that Ashwin will also know, the... Scott Hornell, who runs the Rugby United accounts in New Zealand and also writes for Last Word on Sports. He got the invite to go in and invited me along. So,
but I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't saying he's doing nothing. That's not my point at all. And again, comparing with like a person like Sir Alex Ferguson, that was ahead of a third Lions test, like pretty much close to a World Cup final. Of course, the big man's going to be in the middle of it at that time because that's when it's really, really sad. But I mean, more on a day-to-day basis, I think he had, from what I have seen and heard, he's not like super involved in he don't try to micromanage his helpers or his co-coaches.
No, and when they broke up into forwards versus backs, sure, they got their their time with the players, and for the players who were coming back from concussion injury, they were training separately with someone else as well. So no, the other coaches weren't just standing around saying, "Hey, please tell me what to do." They also got involved. But when it was the whole team together, he was making the calls, he was getting the running the session, and he was definitely a tracksuit manager rather than the suit manager during that session.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll just at this point we're just going to take a very quick advert break. So please do click on the like button down below if you're enjoying the show. Barca, sorry, but we are going to be having the All Blacks edition is going to be running every night of every week of the year. We have plenty to talk about between competitions as well, we think. So no, this will be going, and if you want to have Super Rugby coverage, then that'll be as part of the Hash Rugby Chat on a Tuesday night. So we'll be covering that in there. But this will be going all year round is the idea. So please do dial back in on your Wednesday. And if you can't make the Tuesday, don't forget the recording's available on YouTube, or you can also catch it on the Hash Rugby Chat podcast if you want to listen to it on your commute to work. That's also available for you as well. And so Ashwin, obviously Herman reckons that
what's Ashwin's thoughts about?
That's what I'm about to do. Didn't let me finish my sentence. Jeez.
Spit it out. What are you trying to say?
I'm supposed to be the boss around here, so to behave.
Steve Hansen.
Hansen, what do you be doing?
Look, at the end of the day, I think as Herman said, it really doesn't matter what happens at the Rugby World Cup. The choice will be his. If he wants to carry on, he will be able to carry on. They might, if it all goes horribly pear-shaped at the Rugby World Cup, all they will do is review who was in the support staff, as opposed to questioning Steve Hansen too much. So I sort of think it really does come down to him. It's just like he's still too far away from the old Super Gold card and free trips to Waiheke. So I think it's really, has he had enough, or does he want to carry on? At the moment, he doesn't seem to really show signs. Maybe he sort of just throws the odd, one-liner out there that, it's all, the World Cup and that's it. But I don't really think that he's showing any indications that he really wants to move on, shuffle off. And he's really. I mean, you think about, when we go back through the history, and it's like we've had coaches into the 70s.
Yes, but then you weren't dealing with the kind of superstars and the toilet behaviour that they have to deal with nowadays. So I'm not sure that it kind of works to the same degree that now. I'm not sure you get guys going into their 70s or 80s. The more interesting question out of all this is that, when Steve Hansen does shuffle off, I've had enough of this rugby game and I'm going to go drink some wine and sit down and put my feet up. When he does finally say that, and it's really, people are picking Ian Foster to pick up the reins, but no, I'm not convinced. I think that he's not necessarily the best candidate for the job. I'm not saying he's not a candidate for the job, and I'm just sort of think there'll be competition with people of ability that will be able to sort of compete against him in that role, or for that role.
Yeah, actually, but two other things I think about Steve Hansen. It's first, I think he would be more open to step down if there was like some interesting. The only job I can see that he could do and keep his legacy in New Zealand and not upset anyone, he could coach the Lions for one tour. Not against New Zealand though, but against South Africa or the Wallabies. But the problem with that is that that'd be a random call, because that'd be a massive change in the Northern Hemisphere selection policy of a Lions coach, wouldn't it? Not really. Look through all the coaches. Really, it's not that straightforward how we select coaches. Like Paul looking like what? Spit it out, Paul. No, you've always picked someone that's been coaching a Northern Hemisphere team.
No, they haven't.
No,
haven't
they? No.
Get out.
Geach, for example.
I'm getting everything wrong today. I'm going to go to sleep now.
Geach, for example, wasn't. I don't believe was coaching Scotland at the time when he got the Lions the second time round. So I think he was probably doing media work or something at the time, or lower coaching. He wasn't, and I don't believe he was a national coach at that point. So, but there's definitely what's changed. He resurrected and saved the Lions on that South Africa tour because basically the Sir Clive Woodward tour nearly killed the Lions off. Let's be honest, when they came to New Zealand. So since then they've tried to have continuity as part of their coaching setup, so that because they have only got a short amount of time with the players, they don't have time to build up those relationships with the coaches. So if you look at the coaching staff for Australia, it involved quite a few of the assistant coaches for South Africa. And if you look again at how the New Zealand tour, about the main change was that was in the defence coach was changed, but that was I think that was about the only change between the Australian and the New Zealand tours. So I would expect quite a lot of the assistant coaches to be involved, and if they'd stepped up to, or if they step up to national coach or do some head coaching roles, then they could be involved to as the head coach. But if you look at the list, I mean, Andy Farrell at the moment is assistant coach with Ireland, so it'd be a bit strange to see him taking a head coaching role for the Lions. Graham Rowntree has just left Harlequins, so unless he takes up a head coaching role, I can't see him doing it. Rob Howley roundly agreed that he is probably the worst attack coach in the Northern Hemisphere, and that effectively he got told to shut up, and Sexton and Farrell took over all the attack training sessions. So I can't see him doing it. And Gatland, well, he's not going to do a third one. Let's be honest. He'll be employed doing something somewhere else. So there is definitely an opportunity for something a bit different for the tour to South Africa, but I could not see it being Steve Hansen.
If he's available, I think if he steps down after a World Cup, I think that's pretty much the only job I think he's interested in, because it has enough pedigree, and he's been very outspoken about his love about the Lions concept too. He absolutely love the Lions, so it's like the only thing he can add on his CV, really.
I get that from that point of view.
And he does definitely have a CV to apply for the job.
Sure, he has a CV to apply for the job. The problem though is he doesn't know.
He might be over qualified.
He doesn't know the players as well up there. If he was to get assistant coaches who did know the players, then he wouldn't know those very well. And he left Wales in 2004, and he's been in the New Zealand setup for the past basically 14 years now, which is
but
phenomenal.
give him 1 year to like watch all the games in the Northern Hemisphere, like all the tests. I think he would be more than ready how to begin. It's not like the All Blacks coaches not watching what's happening up north. I'm pretty sure Steve Hansen watched every single test with every single G1 nation.
We're going past, since we're going on tangent as we do, but we're missing out the obvious name that would probably be sort of up there pretty high at the top of the list is the old Joe Schmidt.
Yeah, but I think he has unfinished business with Ireland. It works really well for him in Ireland at the moment. I don't think Joe Smith has been very quiet about that. He's not been vocal at all, but he will move back to New Zealand eventually, but I'm not sure he's going to do it after the next World Cup.
I was talking about Joe Smith for the Lions, but I think Eddie Jones was lining himself up for the Lions because he had a 2-year.
Was lining himself.
Nervously chewing on fingernails now.
But anyway, back to the All Blacks, as this is the All Blacks not the Lions show. So I don't think Steve Hansen will stick around. I think, as I said, he's been there since 2004. We're coming up to 15 years. It'll have done 16 years by the time the Rugby World Cup. Done four Rugby World Cup cycles. Previously he went through 2 as assistant, now 2 as head coach. I don't think he will do another one. So, yes, I think Steve Foster takes over in 2020, and then and basically gets given 1 cycle before someone like Razor steps in. But as you say, you're going to have Warren Gatland will also be applying for the role. You've got to say that would Schmidt apply for the role and try and get out of his Irish contract, or I'm not sure when his Irish one runs to. You've also got Vern Cotter in France, may also apply, and also Richie Rennie. Dave Rennie, sorry.
Sorry, mate, but I think I'm pretty sure Joe Schmidt's contract is up straight after, like right just to the Rugby World Cup. Then it's over. So it's just a question, and he's indicated that sort of coaching the Irish team is sort of over. It's just a question of whether he sticks around in Ireland to fulfill another role within the setup with a club maybe, or whether he heads back to New Zealand.
I haven't heard him say at all that his Irish time is up by 2019. And what I hear is they are negotiating pretty hard to extend his contract because everyone wants him to stay. He's the perfect fit for him. And also, I mean, we're getting a little bit far away from Steve Hansen now, but I can add this to what my understanding about Joe Schmidt's personal situation is he has a severely sick son who needs a lot of care. And staying in Ireland, playing in Ireland makes he can spend a lot more time at home. If you're going to coach in New Zealand, there's a lot more travel involved in it right away.
Yeah.
So there is a lot more. There's definitely a lot more travel than required for the Six Nations. And also, just looking at him, he's got himself dual citizenship. So he's now an Irish citizen as well, as of 2015.
We poach him too. My God, we're going to make him play also. It's too much.
Doesn't get a grandmother now.
Yeah. But I think the general problem for Steve Hansen is what else can he do? I mean, coaching the Wallabies with Springboks, I think is out of the question.
He's down as international digs, eh? He's basically it is really it's almost like what Graham Henry, I suppose, sort of started to do, and it's more a mentoring of the coaching stock, which is obviously there's definitely a scope for that. I think there's sort of needs to be something around that. There's plenty around player development.
He will get work, but how interested will he be? He will never have a problem to get work again. I mean, that's an easy part for him. I mean, it's easy to forget with Steve Hansen.
Below and put your feet up in it.
No, but it's easy to forget with Steve Hansen that too many times I think some people just too easy to overlook that he is the most successful rugby coach ever. You know, it's like his stats speaks from him so loud. It's like not even a discussion. You know,
not even close.
No.
So we talked about Warren Gatland having 104 matches as head coach, and how many? And he's got 100. I guess it's 100 with one country because he's had 84 with the All Blacks and 30 with Wales. So it must be with one country.
Yep.
That longevity one.
There you go. Then if that could be a motivator. You know, goes through to the World Cup in Japan. After Japan, the next World Cup, and he could top Wazza Gatland as the most capped coach for one country.
Yeah,
motivation.
Right. Yeah, I signed a new contract because I want to get more caps than the Gatland has for weights. You know?
And then he gets that certificate, and that's going straight to the pool room.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Hansen was a pool player, not a foosball player. Eh? You think he's got a pool table rather than a foosball table in his?
I think he's probably made enough points to have a foosball table and a pool table.
But I want to. Maybe you have something too. Since we're speaking about Steve Hansen, I want to share like a little moment I saw with him that surprised because for me it seems fairly obvious. He presents a very different persona in public when he actually do behind closed doors. And the only looking I have got obviously it was not even close to being closed door, but he was very off guard. It was this Welsh player, was it Gareth Thomas? He made before the Lions tour. He made a documentary about New Zealand rugby, and he used to Steve Hansen and he know each other well. So he was invited to Steve Hansen's house. So we had like just a chat with Steve Hansen, and you can clearly see Steve Hansen he's very like confident in his zone, like having his Welsh boy coming all down to New Zealand to see his beautiful house. I may say on some kind of close to the sea, in the posher part of Auckland, I would suspect.
He's in Christchurch.
He lives in Christchurch.
He's a Canterbury.
He's a Canterbury man.
but it looked nice. It looked nice
It
where he
was a
stayed.
nice house.
Yeah, it's right. And it seems to be like so much more like explosive and loud personality when
Away from the camera.
someone is away from when someone is not actually supposed to listen. And you can also see the way he interacted with Gareth Tobin's like coach player. Very, very physical, very, very intense with him. Even if you're just having a chat, like light chat about New Zealand rugby. What have you seen? Have you had any memories from Steve Hansen behind the shed or behind the camera?
I've never seen. I'll be honest.
No stories.
Really not.
You don't hear any stories about him.
No, not really. I mean, everything's pretty much what you see coming through on our 6:00 news type scenario, and that's all you really sort of see. I mean, you really haven't seen anything behind the scenes. I think that's actually, it's interesting when it's something that for a country that's mad about rugby, which we're not really. We've had that discussion before. Is that there's actually not much behind the scenes type coverage of anything really. I mean, Chasing Great, when Richie McCaw's movie sort of, that was, it's not you're not going to say it's a 5-star documentary movie / but it was like a lot of Kiwis watched it because it's one of the very few opportunities you get to see behind, an All Black with their sort of guard down, so to speak, and to see the real person behind, the black jersey.
Yeah, the New Zealand media, or the All Blacks media machine, really does not like people seeing behind the scenes. They have relented with the Amazon Prime shows, which I've not seen, and also Richie McCaw is special. He's allowed to do whatever he wants to do, basically. So he gets to do one of those things, but no one else. They generally don't like that.
I mean,
but anyway, moving on.
It seems like but I just say. Well, I mean, it seems like with Gareth Tubman's documentary in mind also, I've seen another one about was it BBC or Sky, but it seems generally they're way more open to foreign media to open themselves up than we are to the Kiwi media.
No, that is interesting. Yep. And the trend of Kiwi media just being clickbait probably doesn't help that either. To be honest.
Patsies. Clickbait or patsies.
Yep.
All right, sorry.
The other big news this week, which probably went under the radar for most people, was the Black Ferns and the Women's Sevens have gained their first ever solo sponsor, or first major sponsor anyway, in Molenbeek. Alston, do you want to give us an idea as to what Molenbeek is for those people outside of New Zealand?
Molenbeek is actually a very nice whole grain bread, toasted with lots of butter on it. It is fantastic.
I wouldn't know. I'm more of a Freya's person, but there you go. That's only because I can't afford Vogels. So there you go. Little did you know this podcast would divert off and have a tangent of talking about sliced bread. So, in the best things of sliced bread.
I was actually going to make that joke, but I stopped in the last second. But you,
So, the best things in sliced bread, the Black Ferns and the Black Fern Sevens shorts will now be branded with Molenbeek. So, any thoughts around this?
I think it's great news. I think anything to bring in a bit of coin. The NZRFU needs as much coin as it can get, and so using the players as a billboard, it's fantastic. They should cover their shirts and shorts with advertising.
No, don't go that far. I mean, in Sweden we do that with our sports team, and it looks absolutely shocking.
No, don't worry. It's because Alston's just lining me up for my brand. I can see exactly where he's going with this one.
Yeah, I'm doing a segue to be able to take your tangents and just go.
Now, it's great.
All right, Paul.
It is great news that the Black Ferns are now commanding their own advertising and bringing in their own income, backing up the fact that they're now full-time professionals and are getting paid, which is fantastic news. What I think is a bit double standards, though, is around the putting these logos on everyone's happy about putting these logos on the Black Ferns outfits, but if anyone were to suggest putting Molenbeek on the All Black shorts, there'll be an absolute uproar about defacing these sacred outfits. All we're going to see is that the All Blacks jersey has AIG on it without the box, and the box is deliberately, but the box is shown on the men's sevens, the women's sevens, and the Maori All Blacks, and also the Blacks Ferns jerseys. But it was considered a step too far to deface the All Blacks jersey too much with a sponsor, and this double standards between the men and the women, I think, is a bit off. Maybe it is just between the All Blacks and everyone else, but it does seem to me a bit wrong, a bit sexist. That we're allowed to deface the ladies' outfits, but we're not allowed to deface the men's.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be that, even, Paul, because it could very well be that the AIG deal is exclusive, that they're simply not allowed to put any other sponsors on that's part of the deal by the AIG paid a lot of money, that, okay, we pay this, but no one else ever shows up as long as we are there. Well, that's what I would do that if I were the marketing manager for AIG, for sure. That's what I would trade back for them, for making changes to my logo. Okay, but then it's only us and only us.
Very possibly. Maybe there are contractual things behind the scenes, and AIG were the first ever logo on, well, actually after Adidas, who have been on there for best part of a decade or so, I guess, or maybe even longer. But yeah,
Canterbury has been there too, hasn't it?
You can go back a bit. There was Steinlager used to be on shirts for a period of time. Yeah, Steinlager on the rugby jersey.
On the All Blacks.
We even called the Steinlager All Blacks for a game or two before people get too fed up with it.
Yeah, we go, oh, this is not right. You can't do this like that. How's it go? We go, you can't do this like that.
So on the whole, fantastic news for the ladies. Bringing in their own income, but
it is. I mean, come on, you can't.
They're pulling their own weight.
Oh dear, and it is, and it's another sign of the progress. I mean, but I can find people are going to laugh at this one, but I saw a lot of the Black Ferns were tweeting positive stuff around and ribbing Portia Woodman for being the first Black Ferns to do the sloggy adverts with the All Blacks boys down in her underwear, and the boys were in their underwear as well. So that was and that was a step forward, with the co-branding between the sides, and then also getting their what do you call it? I'm blank now. Getting their contracts this year, the extended series with the extra games with the Wallabies during the Rugby Championship, or the Wallaroos. And then these are all stepping stones and signs that things are going in the right direction in the women's game, which is great.
Yeah. Look, just to address your around the jersey type of thing, the reality of the scenario is the fact is that the All Blacks are the premium brand, and it's not the fact that it's male, it's not the fact that it's female, it's the fact that the All Blacks are the premium brand. So you take the male female out of it, because at the end of the day, then you can go down to the sevens, the Maori All Blacks, and the Black Ferns, and they're your other product sets. So it's just the fact that the All Blacks are a premium brand, and they've got them as a premium brand would be, with different rules and policies, procedures, whatever words you want to use, wrapped around that product. As I said last night, it's all about products now. That's what it's about, and it's not sport. It's not sport. It's a product. That's all it is.
Product. So
it's all it is.
Talking about products, what products are we going to get delivered at the weekend? We've obviously got injuries to Bowden Barrett and Fafita, so they're not down in Dunedin. What other changes do you think we're going to see in the All Blacks team?
Also, word is that Sam Cane is not going to play.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? It's not an injury thing, is it? It's just because I've just sort of been reading up, and it's just like, Sam Cane's sort of being mentioned about missing out. Have you guys heard anything about an injury, or is it just simply selection thing only? Straight selection thing?
I just think they won't need it. He didn't have his best game in the second test, and I just think I think he's still first choice 7 by some distance, but
yeah,
he need a breather. They probably forced him to play 80 minutes. Now 160 minutes, a little bit too early.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because he's coming back from injury and hadn't played a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I think Sam Whitelock is borderline too, but I think we don't want to mix it up too much. But if it was, they probably considering not playing Sam Whitelock either.
Yeah, I mean, Sumo has come out and said that what he thinks the lineup's going to be, and that includes So yes, the same front five, the Crusaders, all three Crusaders from front five, Frizzell and Ardi Savea on the flanks, with Luke Whitelock again at 8. A bit of a speedy promotion for Frizzell on the 6 jersey.
3 Super Rugby games, and now it's a test start of All Blacks.
It wasn't even 3 full Super Rugby games. No, it's just like, it's interesting, it actually highlights something else, and it's just like, if you're Akira Ioane, you're sort of sitting there going, oh, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Talked about so much. And obviously there's the rumours going around about the fact that, we don't know which Ioane, but I'm sort of thinking it's actually probably the Akira version, hasn't actually signed with the Blues, beyond the season.
Rico.
Rico. Is Rico? You sure it's Rico?
He has not signed a new deal yet, Rico. But that will probably solve itself now because we get the extra cash from Julian Savea. He's leaving.
Yeah.
Because Rico is going to get to, the captain should be the highest paid player, but the thing's moving at the market right now. If they want to keep Rico on a long-term contract, they got to break the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just like, it's interesting. I've actually heard about Kira as well. So, and I mean, like Rico, it's more around the signing Blues, and I'm sort of thinking he's going to be looking at, if I can't get a black jersey in this club, I need to go somewhere where I can get a black jersey.
That sounds reasonable. I mean, I heard a lot of chat that they should send him down to Crusaders, and Crusaders will make a good player out of him.
Or probably anybody.
Yeah, but
and also with Samu going to the Brumbies, they've got a space on their roster for a player like that. So,
and they're probably going to rest Kieran Reid a lot also next season, just to keep him finely tuned in perfect form for the World Cup. But Akira played in the sevens. He has played sevens rugby.
Yep. Oh, he's played a fair bit.
So he's capped for New Zealand, and
yes, he's tied to New Zealand. He can't, which makes him a fantastic buy for any French club. Because
yes, he does. No, but I know because he could switch naturally because he is eligible to play for Japan also.
Yep,
No, if he played like 2 Olympic qualifying sevens tournament, he could play for it. So maybe that's his best shot to get.
Because the eligibility rules around sevens is different to the eligibility rules around 15s.
That's because the Olympics. They have to follow the Olympic rules.
Right.
So, but if he plays 2 qualifying tournaments for the Japan sevens team, he will be eligible for the 15 team. But Japan is actually not really looking for an 8, so maybe that's a no-go either. No-go also. We have a good one already. Very good.
So coming back to the old sevens there, if Sam Cane's not playing, we've always talked about, we've had this conversation before, Ardi Savea still doesn't start. Matt Todd.
Yeah, I think it's Matt Todd who's going to start. I don't think Ardi's going to get the start.
Well, according to Sumo, Ardi's starting starting at 7.
Yeah, but I think Sumo is wrong.
Because the other thing is like, because Matt Todd's not a bench player.
No, he's not.
But they have played non-bench players on there before. I think Ardi deserves the pitch time, the playing time, the start. So you would start Todd. I wouldn't. This idea of Frizzell, I'm amazed he's such a. I don't know what they see in him. And as you say, someone like Akira Ioane, you'd think had earned the jersey more.
The interesting thing that if you go back, if I saw it obviously at Eden Park and then last week as well, is that obviously they have some of the I can't think of the right word, but fringe All Blacks in the squad suited up on game day. So if somebody has an injury in the warm-ups, then they step straight in. And he's one of those guys that I've seen both times actually ready to go if one of the reserve, the playing 23 falls over.
Kiri?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now,
But I have to remember, he's not picked for selection. He's not. I mean, he's lots of injuries, but he's only in the squad to train with them. I think we've been pretty clear to him that you're not here for selection.
But that's the interesting thing. Yet he's been kitted up for the game day sessions.
Yes, but I think he's been kitted up for the game days to say, right, show us you have the right attitude, and this is how you behave, and this is how you prepare. Because it's not playing ability with the Kiri. If it was playing ability, he'd be straight in the side, be no problem at all. It's all about attitude. And so what they're really trying to, he wasn't there to learn how to get to a breakdown or how to bust a tackle or step a player. He's been there to go, right, you have these 3 weeks to show us you know how to behave. And we're going to show you how we expect you to behave. And if you don't keep this up, you're not going to get selected. It's as simple as that. And I say he has improved on last year. There's no two ways about it. His attitude, his work rate in Blues games has stepped up. They clearly expect more out of him. But we've talked enough about the forwards. Let's talk about the fun bit, the backs.
John Kirby gonna love you for that comment.
So I reckon they're going to start DMAC at 10. There's a lot of people pushing for Richard Moanga. Where do you guys sit?
Me.
Push away, human. Push away.
No, this is also what I hope they don't mix around too much in the selection, but we don't put the experimental side out there. Give Moanga a real shot with as many like usual first picks as possible to see what he really goes. Because I mean, what I've seen this season from Richie, I started already last season, but what I've seen from this season from Richie Moanga, I mean, on the front foot, on the back foot, in the sun, in the rainfall, on attack, on defense, he has showed it all. I mean, he has. I haven't found it. I mean, he's so deserved spot. But I can see also with DMAC, he's been in the All Blacks camp now for 2 years. You know, that he should get a chance. But isn't it obvious that he's not that kind of 10? He don't have that kind of level of play. I think it is.
Yep.
I still say give him the full season and then see where he's at 10. Richard Moanga's been obviously is a 10 if nothing else. Damon McKenzie is much more versatile than that, and has done a lot of play at fullback where he gets a lot more time and space, and has got used to that. And I think, and when he has played at 10 in the Mitre 10 Cup, for example, again he gets time and space because it's not as fast paced and as pressured a game. And I just think he needs time. And so I would start with DMAC, not Richard Moanga. Stick to their guns. It's someone that they've been grooming for a long time. I'm pretty sure that's the way they'll go.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right, but I hope not. You know, and I think my go-to would be like Richie. You play 50 minutes today, you give it all, and then give DMAC the last 30 minutes.
Then in the centres, Sonny Bill Williams and Goodhue is the rumour, replacing both the centres.
Yeah, look,
I was waiting for that. I was just like waiting for the Goodhue, and then these fireworks from Herman. It's like, woo, Goodhue.
Great minds do think alike.
That was Sumo picking that, by the way.
He is right sometimes, you know.
And there's an element of Sumu is this one. He does get to see the practices and stuff that we don't. So he has a better idea. So he has been around the squad, but not surprising that they're going to rest Crotty. Crotty is too key to them and is too fragile. And then Anton Brown, a little bit surprised he's been dropped and not given more game time to prove himself. If that's the way they go. Go on, Ashwin.
Come on, let's face it. Before the French series started, we were talking about Leonard Brown would be there, but he's lucky to be there. He's been very average. In the 2 tests against the French, he's been average. He's at best. Everybody had a shocker, to be fair, last week. But that's when you got the opportunity to step up and show that you're better than average, but he didn't. So I think it's a good opportunity to say, hey, look, we'll put Sonny Bill at 12. We can put Goodhue at 13. And that's why, although I'm sort of on the Herman side in terms of give Richie a Mwanga a go, but I think they'll go D-Mac a go because it comes back to what Herman also said. You don't want to mix and match too much. If you're going to be chucking in Goodhue and then you've got Sonny Bill, you want to have a novice at 10 as well. So I think they'll go D-Mac, Sonny Bill Williams and Goodhue.
And apparently Naholo comes in on the wing with Ben Smith going to fullback, Rico obviously starting, and Geordie on the bench.
Yeah, Geordie needs more time. Yeah, Geordie needs more time to sort of finish baking. Since we're talking about bread today.
I mean, it's all Blacks coaches themselves have acknowledged this too, but it's also easy in hindsight. But they didn't get the selection process exactly right for this French series. They should probably pick the more don't go only for the old guns in the first one. Have a little bit more of a plan how to use all these free tests to actually build what we really want to build. I mean, looking at right now, it looked like Joe Schmidt made a much better call to field a weaker side in the first test against the Wallabies. It seems like he's going to get more out of these free tests than the All Blacks coach is going to get out of their free tests.
And the other thing is that, like, you look at that backline, the backline just has a sameness about it. And there is a spot there, I think, for Milner Scudder, who is a very different player to every other back that's actually there. And really, when the crash bash isn't working, you haven't got anything else at the moment. Whereas if you had some, I'm not saying whether it's Rico's wing or whether it's Naholo's wing. Obviously, Rico's seems to be quite cemented in number 11. But you feel like Milner Scudder, needs to be there to add something different to that back line.
And Naholo doesn't fit the All Blacks 14 jersey really. He's too big for it. But for some reason he's always played on that side for the Highlanders, which is when they had Lamb on the left, for example, and then I've got Lee now is out there, isn't he? So that's, to me, that it was always been strange seeing Naholo on the right wing, because that's just not how the All Blacks generally play. They generally play with a more full-backy right wing, which that's what Naholo isn't. He's good on the high ball, don't get me wrong, but he's not a full-backy
he's not a Corey Jane or Izzy Dag underneath the high ball type. That level.
No, he's not. So that's a bit of a surprise. But so we'll see how things pan out. That's what the word on the street is. Plus quite a few changes on the bench as well. But we'll find out that tomorrow. And tomorrow night, looks like I'm on my own, actually, giving you the preview for the games this weekend. But we'll have news then as to who the All Black selections really are. And I'll head through those, and I'll also talk about all the other international games as well, and as to who and look at the lineups for those.
I have a question for you about the prediction already now, Paul, because since I cannot join you tomorrow, I want to ask you now. What do you reckon about because we discussed it last week about the French back row. They were inexperienced, the new back rowers who came in, but didn't you think these were a step up? These players, they clearly came in with some good form, especially Kevin Gordon.
Oh, they clearly did. I'll be honest. Once we had the red card, I switched off last weekend. I didn't really pay attention after that. I messed around with the fire. I had it on the background, but I didn't really pay attention, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of
Fair
people.
Fair enough.
But you just
got more of a life than me.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I started playing with the fire. I was and if you want to, how I'm trying to build a wheelbarrow in my living room. That's the kind of life I have. But unlike yours, heading out to various bars and bottles of whiskey on the table. We're talking about lives. But
what about Ash then? Ash can give. What do you thought about the French back rowers?
Oh, they stepped it up. They definitely did. The new blood came in there. They were abrasive. Obviously, things went a bit pear-shaped with that red card, but they came back into the game. And once they came back into the game, they disrupted the All Blacks. And obviously, the back rower's job is to get to those breakdowns to make it messy ball, and they achieved that. And they slowed the ball down and. No, definitely, and then on attack they were prominent as well. So no, I think the French players that came in, not just the back row, but they added something there, definitely. You definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, if I got to single out one French player, I would single out Morgan Parra. I mean, he had a blinder.
Yeah. I think
Very
it was
surprised he could play at this level.
Got subbed.
Hmm?
And I was surprised he got subbed.
And rumor has it he's going to be the captain this weekend with Astro, given the game off.
Yep. Bastro heading up to Wellington again. Have some fun.
Reacquaint himself with a few people.
Have anyone really looked into this story? Why he's not picked? You know, we say we're going to give him a rest. He's just been to Wellington. Who knows?
And let's be honest, best banner I've seen so far of the series was by a couple of ladies at with saying, we like McDonald's, you can bring us some chicken McNuggets and we won't call the police.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was a great poster.
How long do you reckon it will take before McDonald's actually snap up Jordi Barrett as like to sponsor a product? It seems like it's a given they should do it.
They
have him as their face.
He's tied to KFC.
Is he?
The All Blacks.
Is he?
The All Blacks.
The All Blacks.
Well, the All Blacks.
And what is an individual?
And Super Rugby. I think he'll probably hand. I'd be very surprised if he was allowed to join a competitor sponsor to the All Blacks.
Yeah, maybe. Doesn't matter if it's an individual. It's there are possibilities. You have to make funny commercials with that. It's like endless, you know.
Oh, it's fantastic. Richie was allowed to do his own individual thing with garages because there's no garage sponsor of the All Blacks. But you didn't see him sponsoring Cheerios, for example, with Mix. So now, there's got to be a clause in there saying he can't be sponsored.
But KFC, it's like KFC could come up with something just as witty, really. You know, he wouldn't have got in trouble if he was having some McNuggets.
Yeah. No, of course, the girls call the police. Bring McDonald's food. Who wouldn't? Like tips for Jordi next time. Bring the kid. I hope we do something about it.
Bring a bucket.
Unfortunately, I don't think the All Blacks media machine will allow them to do that. They have they did lack a sense of humour when that kind of thing comes around. Because all those toilet duck adverts that Aaron Smith could have done.
Seems someone else is lacking some humour here also. Maybe you should apply for a job at the All Black Media Office, Paul. That's where you belong.
Yeah, you become the marketing person. But really, just the fact is that you could never ever lose your biscuit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What an awful advert. Anyway, Ashvin, let people know where they can talk to you during the weekend until next week.
They can find me in a house, in a car, but never in Speedos, and on Twitter, and I'll see you there.
Herman will be down the Irish pub in Chiang Mai if you want to have a catch up with him. And he's open to offers of bottles of vodka any night of the week.
Not today. Not today. I'm off the market today.
Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Do click that like button, please. Do subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'm looking forward to anyone who wants to sponsor me free beer. Always up for that as well. So please do step up and let us know. So cool. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I will be back at 8 p.m. tomorrow night previewing all of the international games this weekend. So do catch me then.